Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 57 of the Sam Hossick Media podcast. A very special guest today. She was a member of Team Nova Scotia that participated in the Canada Winter Games in 2015, was one of 8 Canadians to be invited to the IIHF High Performance Camp in Finland in 2016, skated at 2 under-18 national championships with Team Atlantic, and is a graduate of the University of New Hampshire. Please welcome from the UNH women's hockey team, Julia Scammell. Now we'll get right into things. So at what age did you start playing hockey?
I started skating when I was around 2 or 3. My dad always had a backyard rink that I'd go on. But I started playing hockey when I was like 6 or 7, I'd say. And I grew up playing boys hockey, as most female hockey players kind of started out doing, I think, especially in my town. There wasn't really any female teams, so that's how I started out.
Now, as a member of Team Nova Scotia at the Canada Winter Games, just talk about how that experience was and how the opportunity kind of came about.
Yeah, it was one of the most amazing things I have participated in so far in my career. Something that I'll always remember. It was one of the first big kind of tournaments that I did. And yeah, like I said, I'll never forget that week or so that we were there. Yeah, it was a big thing, or it seemed like it was then, especially. I always grew up playing on kind of Team Nova Scotia, like the U14, U15, all the way through, and then I fortunately had the opportunity to try out for that team since I was in the right age group there, and I fortunately made the team and got to go there to Prince George, which was amazing. They did an awesome job at hosting. So
Now, another award you get to have to your name is skating with Team Atlantic at 2 under-18 championships, one in Ontario and one in Saskatchewan. So take us through both those and how cool it was to represent the Atlantic hockey group.
Yeah, super awesome. Again, like Canada Games was, it had a similar feel. But yeah, it's always an honor to represent your province, but then when you get to represent, kind of our group of provinces, it's even more special. And you get to really meet some other girls that I'm used to playing against. So yeah, both of those cities did an amazing job as well. And I was fortunate enough to be there for both of my years of eligibility. So it was awesome. Another tournament that I'll never forget about, for sure.
Now, before we get into UNH, let's talk about getting invited to that performance camp in Finland. How cool of an experience was it to go overseas and do that?
Yeah, it was amazing. That was kind of the first time I really got to travel that far for hockey, and to say you got to go to Finland was pretty amazing. Just to do a camp. But yeah, that was a whole experience in itself. Being in that culture, that was the first time I ever went overseas, even to visit. So it was really amazing meeting those girls and helping them develop their hockey, and meeting the new coaches over there. It was really, really amazing to be around, for sure.
Now we'll get into UNH now. Take us through the process of committing there, and when did you kind of know it was a school for you?
Yeah, the coaches contacted me when I was pretty young, actually, and I ended up committing there in grade 10. But yeah, I went down on a visit, and I visited a couple schools, and once I stepped into UNH, I knew right away that was the place for me. It felt like home, compared to the other schools that I went to. And, I pretty much said right on the spot, this is the place for me. And that was it. And I committed in grade 10. Um, and yeah, spent my 4 years there. It was awesome. So I'm definitely glad I picked UNH.
Now, take us through walking into Whitmore Center for the first time and seeing your name on the UNH jersey. How cool was that?
Yeah, I was pretty speechless the first game day. I was super nervous, but just to put on the jersey, for the first time officially and actually stepping out on the ice for your first game was a huge milestone for me and something that I, have always dreamed of doing. And then when you really get to do it, I was pretty speechless, but yeah, it was an amazing feeling for sure.
Now, take us through scoring your first collegiate goal. How cool was it to get the monkey off your back to say?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Took me a little bit, but yeah, everyone was super supportive and happy for me, obviously. But yeah, it was great to just have that feeling, I guess. Yeah.
Now, what can you take away from your 4 years at UNH that you've learned as a hockey player?
Oh, a lot. My teammates and my coaches have pushed me over the last 4 years harder than anyone ever has, athletically and academically too. I could list off a lot of lessons learned and just takeaways, I guess, from both sides. And I really got the feeling of obviously playing Division 1 hockey and also juggling that with school too, which at times was, kind of difficult, but I think it made me a better person. And I'm really glad I had that opportunity to be able to do that. So
Absolutely. Now, take us through this year, obviously with the COVID year. How different was it playing hockey?
yeah, it was super weird. We got it done, but it was game to game. We didn't really know if we were going to play until right up until we hit the ice, which was really strange. And it kind of threw a wrench in some maybe pregame things that we do or like being prepared, but we tried our best, the same as every team we played against. That everyone was in the same boat. So in the end, it all worked out. And yeah, we didn't get to play as much, but just the fact that we even got to play at all, I'm super super amazed that the people that helped us organize did what they did, because without those people, we wouldn't have even been able to pull that off. So yeah, it was definitely strange this year, but it was worth it once we got going.
Now, how difficult was it to play with those masks on?
Yeah, it was weird at first, I'll have to admit. We practiced with them for a while before, and it was kind of weird, but I mean, like anything, you get used to it after a little bit. I mean, at first it felt like I couldn't breathe at all, but I mean, after you get a week of practice down and a game or two, you don't really notice it. Um, but yeah, it was definitely a weird thing to have to adjust to.
Now, a tradition they do at UNH is throw a fish on the ice after the first goal at home games. How weird was that to see at the first game you were at?
Yeah, I don't think I really even knew that they did that until I saw it, which was strange. But yeah, I think it's so classic, and I really like the idea of it, and I don't think any other rink really does that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It really stinks though. It stinks up the whole rink when they do it, but it's worth it. The first goal means something good. So
Now, what's the favorite road trip that you have that you've been able to do with UNH over your 4 years?
I'll have to say we went to Penn State, which was kind of our big road trip. which was really, really cool. We got to do a couple cool things when we were there. We saw the big stadium, the big football stadium, and got a tour of a couple places, which is, I mean, obviously really cool, but also pretty awesome to be able to play them too. But yeah, I'd say that's my favorite road trip so far. It was long, but it was worth it once we got there.
Absolutely. Now we'll get into the fan question we got, and it was from your teammate Lauren Martin.
Oh boy.
And she asked, how does being vegan relate to the on ice performance? And the second part of that is Maddie Truex called you a fake vegan.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I've been vegan for probably 3 years now. But yeah, I think it's helped me a lot, on ice and off ice, just health wise. I don't know, I see a difference. And that's why I did it. I mean, I am super passionate about nutrition. That's what I majored in. So I tried it out and liked it. So I just kind of stuck with it. I don't know what Maddie's really saying, but maybe I ate something in front of her once that wasn't vegan, probably.
Yeah,
That's probably what she's saying.
she followed it up with she sometimes eat things that aren't vegan, and whenever she does, we always see it and call her out for it.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah. Sometimes if I eat like a bite of pizza with like real cheese on it, they like go crazy, but it's all good.
Insane. Now, obviously, you're a senior this year. Just talk about the big freshman class that came into UNH this year and what you kind of were able to teach them coming into school.
Yeah, they were great. Probably, I think the biggest freshman class that we've had since I've been there. But they adjusted really well, and they all did. They all did really well on the ice and off too. I mostly try to lead by example on the ice and off, and kind of just lead by example in terms of work ethic and those kind of things. So, but yeah, I think they adjusted super well and came in prepared for sure.
Now, over your 4 years, was it easier after the first couple to adjust to being a student athlete with being able to balance school and playing hockey?
Yeah, I'd say my freshman year I wasn't prepared for the academic part at all, but after freshman year, I really got the hang of it, and I mean, it all comes down to organization, I think, and I've always been pretty good at that side of it. So if you can keep that down pat and get your work done before you have to play, and making sure you're doing all your homework and assignments before you're stressing about it when you're trying to be thinking about playing, that's I think the key, and that's something that I really had to work at first, but it came pretty easy after the first year, I'd say.
Absolutely. Now, we'll get into some team fun here. Best and worst TikToker on the UNH women's hockey team.
I'm gonna have to say, I might hurt some feelings with this, but I'm gonna have to say Charlie is the best, and I'm gonna have to say, I'll say Charlie and Tam are the best, and I'm gonna say Lauren is the worst.
Most likely to forget something on an overnight trip.
Definitely Tam.
That's awesome. Now, funniest moment on the ice during this season.
Oh my gosh. During this season? I'm trying to can we come back to that one? I'm trying to think. Well, I'm trying to think. A couple seasons ago, Maddie Truex actually got her hair braided over, and I mean, she has like hair, like really, really long hair down to her waist, and she didn't have it in a braid. She now wears it in a braid every game, but for that game, she didn't have a braid and she fell and a girl skated over and a big chunk of her hair came out, which probably wasn't very funny to her, but yeah.
That's awesome. Now, loudest in the room and on the ice.
Tam takes us away again, for sure. And probably Truder too, Siobhan.
Now, what's the best advice you can give to a freshman coming into UNH next year?
I would say just confidence. That's something that I like probably struggled with even throughout my 4 years, but especially freshman year. Just make sure you're confident in yourself and you know what you're doing because you're there for a reason and you got scouted for a reason. You made the team for a reason. So, I mean, you have all the assets. So just put those to work and you'll do great, I'd say.
Now, this year, the Women's Worlds were supposed to be in Nova Scotia, where you're from. So just talk about hearing that tournament being canceled and what your kind of thoughts were when you first heard about it.
Yeah, I was super excited to have them here. Obviously, COVID was a bit of a problem here at that time, and it's been kind of a controversial thing that whether they should do it or not. But I mean, that's not up to me to decide, I guess. And I was really excited for it to happen, but I guess I'm sad that the location had to be changed. So it would have been pretty cool to have it in a kind of a small town like where I'm from. We don't usually get these kind of things to come here, and to get to watch that hockey would be pretty amazing. But yeah.
Absolutely. Now, out of your 4 years, what's your favorite memory from a win at UNH?
I'd have to say a couple years ago when we beat Providence out of the playoffs. That was pretty cool. I don't know, just that was kind of the first big win that we kind of accomplished, and to beat a team out too in playoffs was, pretty rewarding. We worked really hard that season to get there, so yeah, I'd have to say that.
A lot of your teammates were saying the shootout against Northeastern this year was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. Yeah. There's a few for sure.
Now, obviously, this year, how did you guys kind of adapt to having to know or not really know if you're going to play up until the weekend? How do you guys prepare for that?
Yeah, it was a big learning curve in the beginning, and we tried to kind of schedule around that and make sure players aren't too stressed about it, and we just tried to go about it the same way we would have in years before, and it's really out of our control what happens, so we're going to prepare as much as we can, and if it ends up that our game gets canceled, well, hopefully we'll get to play it again maybe the next weekend or whatever day they decide, but we just went into it fully prepared that we were going to play, and if something happened, then we tried.
Now, obviously, with the season having wrapped up, what have you been able to do back home since the season?
Well, I had to quarantine for my 2 weeks when I got back. And then after that, I've just been hanging with my family. It was a long time since I've seen them, almost 9 months, I think, which is the longest I think I've ever gone without seeing my family. So I've been with them a lot of the time. And I'm starting my dryland training that I do with kids every summer. I'm starting that on Friday, along with some ice times that I'll run too or help run. So that'll keep me busy.
Now, what are your plans for next year?
That's still up in the air as of right now. I'm just kind of trying to keep all options open right now, whether I'm going to play or not, or what I'm going to do for school or extra eligibility year. Kind of still in the process of figuring that out. So hopefully I'll know pretty soon, but we'll see.
Now, as a Canadian, something that is big time at Christmas time is the World Juniors, and your boyfriend Jared has played in two of them. So take us through the gold medal game against Russia when Dudas hits the camera and you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this a penalty? We might go on a 5-on-3 PK. Just take us through the last 2 minutes of that hockey game.
Well, it was me and all of my roommates shoved on a little couch watching it in our apartment, and I mean, it was just like crazy. Like, I remember it vividly. It was just like the most insane hockey I've ever watched. And then obviously knowing somebody who's playing makes it even more, crazy. I mean, I remember as a kid that would be the tournament that I would wait to watch. That was the most exciting hockey you'd watch all year. So, I mean, for Jared to play in that, it's pretty special. And yeah, that play with the camera, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack watching that, but all worked out. So
Yeah, that play was unreal. I'm buddies with Dudas, so I had him on the podcast, and he went up to the refs after, and he's like, "No, it hit a stick," trying to like get out of it so we wouldn't get a penalty. And they're
yeah,
just like, "Oh, the camera's in place, so you're good." Like, who cares? But
surprising to me, but I mean, worked out.
yeah, it worked out. They got the gold medal. Shout out to Akil Thomas for playing 4 minutes in that game, and like
Right.
the 5 seconds he was on the ice after that, he scores a golden goal. So
That's
not a lot of people can say that. But
amazing.
here before we wrap up, who's your pick to win the Stanley Cup?
Oh, I'm torn, to be honest. I'm a Leafs fan, so it's really hard for me to hope for Montreal. But I gotta say, I really hope that a Canadian team, brings it home. But I mean, I'd be happy for either, to be honest. I know Tampa deserves it as well, so we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of the listeners, I'd like to thank Julia for coming on here today. It was an honor chatting college hockey and your career with you, and we wish you the absolute best of luck in the future.
Thank you.